Hello friends, welcome to CEC live lectures. Dear friends, as you are aware that in a recent past we have conducted number of lectures for you on special education, the children with special needs. Today we are going to talk on a teacher's education for special children, and for the discussion on the topic we have with us in our studios Dr. Parveen Sharma. Dr. Parveen Sharma is Associate Professor in Hindu College of Education, Sonipat. Dr. Sharma has immense experience and she has been teaching for almost since 3 decades. Dr. Parveen Sharma's immense experience in the area of academics always help us out in understanding various topics in detail. She has authored numerous books. One of her recently released book is Pedagogy of English. Friends, she is a visiting member of NCTE and number of students are pursuing their PhD under her able guidance. Let's take advantages from Dr. Sharma's immense experience and let's try to understand today's topic in detail. Now I would like to welcome our guest Dr. Parveen Sharma once again. Hello ma'am, welcome to the lecture.
Thank you Geetika ji. Good morning viewers and listeners. As in this series of special children, we have talked about various categories of these special children, why they are special, and how can we identify what are the symptoms of these children and how a teacher must deal with these children so that we can develop them as a harmonious personality and a balanced personality so that they can be a boon for the nation, for the community and for themselves itself. So, now, today in this session, being a teacher educator, I would like to share with all of you some of the competencies and skills which a teacher must have while dealing with special children. So we'll discuss what are the skills, what are the methods and what are the ways, because by now we have discussed the symptoms and signs, how can we identify. Now we'll discuss today in this session what are the teacher education strategies can be. Let's see what are the classroom teaching skills and competencies which a teacher must acquire. You know, special children are special because they deviate from other children in one way or the other way. So we have to search or we have to find out some innovative strategies how we can deal with them. We will discuss their needs. So keeping in mind the needs of these children, we have to find out the various strategies. See, in order to provide these kind of experiences, the methods, techniques, tools and equipments have to be chosen, decided and implemented accordingly. They take time in grasping the abstract ideas. So, before jumping to the abstract ideas, the concrete ideas must be clear to them. Now, the question arises, which institute should be referred to whom? Moreover, the teachers who deal with them must be trained specially, because a teacher is teaching the special children, and even among those special children there are the individual differences. So before teaching them, before dealing with them, a teacher must know that what kind of capacities the children are having, what problems are they having, and because in grasping the abstract ideas they take time. So first of all, it is the duty of the teacher to make them the concept clarity of the concrete ideas, because concrete ideas or concrete concept means the concrete things which we can see, which we can touch, but the abstract ideas are hidden. Suppose to the small children who are the special children, we have to tell them that this is a table, this is a concrete concept, concrete ideas, but if we have to tell them, we have to teach them that this is an honest boy, this is an honest girl. So the concept of this honesty will be difficult for them in grasping. First, they should understand what we mean by the concrete ideas. So we'll discuss what are the objectives of this teacher education, why we need to discuss these teacher education for these special children. By now we were talking the various things, but now as I spoke to you that being a teacher educator, I feel it that and I believe that I must share some of the competencies with you that a teacher who is teaching these special children must acquire. First objective, to create an awareness among the teachers that these are the needs of the children, because first of all, a teacher, a counselor must see that who is my target group, what is their mental level and what is their intellectual level, and what are their interests, what are their desires, what is their capacity, what is their attitude and aptitude. Keeping in mind these things, one teacher who is dealing with them in the class can motivate them accordingly, and to enable teachers to identify symptoms in early childhood. See, if the symptoms, if the signs of these special children are identified at early level, it will be good for the teachers, for these students, for these children, because in this way, if these symptoms are identified at early level, then they can be diagnosed in a better way, to enable teachers how to deal with the parents of such children when they have anxiety. Sometime inwardly or sometime outwardly, the parents of these children who are special children, they have anxiety, various kinds of anxiety, like whether our child will be able to play with the normal children, whether their development will be normal, whether they will be adjusted in the society or not, whether they will be able to achieve something. These kind of various anxieties are found in the parents of these children. So it is the duty of the teachers to counsel the parents even that when they have the anxiety, they should be pacified, that there is no problem, these problems can be sought out and your child will be as normal as the other child, but the difference will be of degrees, that to tell the teachers where to refer for special children. So it is a must for the teachers to know where to refer these children, where to refer the visually disabled children, where to refer the hearing impaired child. So teacher must know. If a teacher is having such kind of knowledge where to refer these children, then it will be easy for the parents also and for the education of these children, because as they are the special children, we need the teachers who have special kind of training, who have special type of education in dealing with them, because a teacher while dealing with them have to keep in mind the individual differences and the differences of degrees, because the children have varying interests, varying desires, varying capacities, varying level of problems. So we have to keep in mind these factors. If a teacher is having in mind or having the awareness or having the knowledge of these factors, he or she will be able to deal in a better way. Then some guidelines for these teachers. First, the practical skills. If a teacher is all the time focusing on the theoretical part and ignoring the practical aspect, then it will not be feasible for the teacher as well as for the students who are having these kind of problems. So a sort of practical skill should be followed. I mean, what a teacher what must practice. So for example, in day-to-day life also, if we want to tell somebody that you have to be honest. So if we preach this kind of honesty, first of all, we have to practice that kind of honesty in our behavior, in our attitude. So if the person whom we are advising such kind of honesty will be more influenced when that person, when that listener notices that this kind of behavior is implemented by the person who is speaking that. So in the same manner, if a teacher having this kind of practical skills, practical approach, it will be easy and it will be better. Then understanding the practical steps. What are the steps? What are the process? How to reach our goal, our destination, step by step. What after what? We have first, after selecting the idea, selecting the skills, then a teacher must know how to give the gradation, how to give the sequence to these skills, so that the teacher as well as the students can acquire what is our motive. Then can invite professionals if in the schools, in the institutes, in the colleges, we invite the special or the expert professionals, then it will be better, because if the professionals are coming there and they are lecturing on that particular topic, it will be like a team teaching. I mean by team teaching, if a teacher already is explaining on this aspect and some other professional also come and speak on that topic, so there will be no loophole on regarding that topic, because if one teacher is covering one aspect and the other perspective is left, then that aspect will be covered by the professionals. So this way we can invite the professionals and the topic or the aspect will be covered in all the manner. Then awareness of professional opportunities. A teacher who is teaching these children, who is dealing with these children, must know what are the professional opportunities. If I am talking about that teacher must know where to refer these children who are having this particular problem. So they must know as a teacher the professional opportunities, meaning by after learning or after acquiring this kind of knowledge, passing this kind of or this class or this grade, where we can get these professional opportunities, where we can get the job. So this kind of knowledge, this kind of awareness should be acquired by the teachers, so that they can just transfer this kind of awareness and this kind of knowledge to the students to whom they are dealing. Now I will talk about the effective instruction. When I say effective instruction, what does it mean? Deciding what to teach is a diagnostic process, and deciding how to teach is a prescriptive approach. Let us discuss how to teach these thinking skills, because we have to create a habit in these children who are special children, how to think, how to go step by step. So these are thinking skills which a teacher has to transfer in these children. A teacher has to plan his or her presentation. If we want that our students should go planned and that they must learn how to implement, how to execute these plans, so before that a teacher must plan beforehand. It is necessary to know the level of performance of the students, then it becomes easy to decide what and how to teach. See, I would like to focus on this issue. A teacher must know what is the performance level of, or what is the expected level of the students to whom I have to deal with, because one has to be realistic in his or her approach. I will talk in detail in this regarding this realistic approach now in coming process. Which method will be useful and when to evaluate? After knowing that which method is useful, the evaluation scheme should be very much accurate, how to evaluate these children and when to evaluate. If disruption occurs, how to manage. When a counseling is going on or when a teaching learning process is going on, always it is possibility then some disruptions come. So when these disruptions occur, how a teacher has to deal. Sometimes some of the children are like this, that they create problem. I have talked about these problem children in my previous session. So some children are problem children. They create problem for others in various manners, like just whispering in the ears of the other child, or elbowing the other child, just disturbing the other child, and it just spoils the attention of other children, and it distracts the attention of the teacher also. So this kind of disruption when occurs, so how a teacher has to deal. Teacher is not supposed to get angry. There are other skills. Sometime a teacher has to ignore, sometime a teacher has to deal with. So these are some special tactics how a teacher has to deal when some disruptions occur. And definitely when there is teaching learning process or counseling process is going, disruption may occur. So it is essential on the part of the teacher to know how to deal with these disruptions. So I'll discuss how the process goes on. First, one has to plan, then managing, then delivering, and then evaluating. See, in planning, what do we do? not in the teaching learning process only, in day to day life also. If we plan the day beforehand, we will be able to do a lot. Otherwise half of the day or whole of the day can go like this without planning. We are not able to know what I have to do. So there are three principles of planning: what to teach, how to teach, and communicating realistic expectations. First, what to teach is related with our content. What to teach means we have to see accurately who is our target group, because if we know who is our target group, then we can decide what should be the content, what should be the material to be taught to these children. Then how to teach, after deciding the content, after deciding the subject matter or what to teach, then there comes the second aspect of planning, that is how to teach, meaning by which are the methods, which are the approaches, tactics and strategies can be used appropriately for this particular target group. So a teacher has to deal very intelligently in this way. Then the third aspect in planning is communicating realistic expectations. To expect something is really good, but if we expect the unrealistic things, then it will bring frustration. So it is a must aspect on the part of the teacher to realize what are the realistic expectations and to transfer it to the students that these are the realistic expectations. And what are these realistic expectations? Keeping in mind the target group, their mental level, their intellectual level, their interest, their attitude, aptitude and so many other factors and circumstances. Then comes task analysis, which helps the teacher to plan instruction in a logical sequence. Teachers have to identify the gaps between the performance level and the expected performance of the students. It will help the teachers in setting goals and instructional methods. To motivate yourself and to motivate others is good, but when we become over ambitious, then it brings frustration for all individuals. So it is must for the teacher to realize what can be the realistic expectation, meaning by we expect some performance from a particular child and the exact performance level of that child. So if there is a wider gap, we have to bridge that gap, we have to minimize that gap. So as a teacher, we have to learn what is that gap and how to bridge that gap, how to minimize that gap. So being a teacher educator, we teach the teachers, we tell the teachers that how to identify that gap with these children whom you are dealing with. Then managing instruction. After knowing this planning, we have to manage the instruction. Of course, we have decided the strategies, but how to manage this instruction? Students must learn how to adhere to rules. In a society where we are moving in, we have to follow, we have to adhere to the rules of the society. In the same manner, when a teacher teaches in the class, he or she must set some rules, and these rules should be followed by the students, and teacher must make it clear that these are the rules and everyone has to adhere to these rules. Three principles of classroom management are preparing for instruction, meaning by when as a teacher you give the instruction, you prepare, you make them ready that to all the students that these are the instruction and these are the tasks you have to adhere to and you have to follow. So they must be ready. Earlier long back when I discussed with you the motivational skills, in that lecture I discussed with you, if you remember, that we have to motivate in the realistic manner. We have to see how much we have to motivate a child, because if we motivate the child in an unrealistic manner and the child is not able to come up to that standard, it will really bring frustration for that child. So it is important for the teacher, it is significant for the teacher that how to realize that a child child must be motivated till that level. So there is no clear cut book or the rules which I can share with you that this much we have to motivate a child, because before motivating the child we have to see the performance level and the desires and the interest and capacity of the child. Then using time productively, time management everywhere. We know that 24 hours are there, and we have to sleep, we have to take rest, we have to work, we have to do everything in this time span. So one must learn how to manage our time so that we can produce something constructively. So this way, if a teacher is having the knowledge of time management, the teacher can transfer that management skill to the students so that they also can manage the things in a given time, so that they can enjoy the life also, they can work hard, they can achieve their target. They can do everything because they know how to manage the time. Then establishing a positive classroom environment. Sometimes it happens that a child is having the capacity to do, but the classroom environment is not conducive, it is not congenial, then they do not feel like to do something. So it depends on the teacher how to create a congenial classroom environment. For example, teacher has not to be satirical, teacher has not to be partial, teacher has to behave in an equal manner. So many principles, so many skills or the traits of a good teacher I talked to you when I talked about the personality session. In that session we talked that these are the personality traits of a teacher which a teacher must acquire. If not all, then the primary traits a teacher must acquire so that teacher is able to create a conducive classroom environment. Of course, it is both way. Students are also responsible, they also contribute in setting the good environment, but teacher is a mature person. It is the solely duty of the teacher to create a good classroom environment, because in a conducive environment students will feel like to perform something good. Moreover, teacher must know how to handle disruptions efficiently and try to create a congenial atmosphere. If disruption occurs, suppose you are teaching in a very small level, in a primary or pre-primary level, then sometime children complain about each other, or they are elbowing, ma'am, the other child is disturbing me, he or she is asking this kind of small disruption comes. So teacher must know how to handle with these disruptions, because then we talk about Flanders system, because if we see half of the time when we lecture or when we teach in the class goes in talk time. So that is that talk time or just managing the disruption which occur knowingly or unknowingly, so that time is reduced from the presentation of the subject matter. So teacher must know how to handle that. Again comes the time management. Then delivering instruction. Delivering instruction, you have decided that these are the instructions, this is the process, we have to plan, we have to execute. Then there comes the how to deliver, how to present content. Then there comes the issue of methods and approach. Which are the approaches a teacher must adopt to deal with a particular problem, with a particular target group. So how to present the content, it all depends on the efficiency and intelligence of the teacher, how to present, how to deliver that content so that the objective is fulfilled. Then the teaching thinking skills. We have to enable the students to think originally, they have to produce something creative, because when we talked about creativity, we discussed a lot that the freedom is the first condition of the creativity, but it does not take the form of indiscipline. So if we want that our children should produce something creative, something original, we have to teach them how to think originally, how to utilize that time. Then motivating students. Now, there are two kinds of motivation. First is the intrinsic or internal motivation, and the other is external or extrinsic motivation. when a child is having from within to do something, then that is the internal motivation. But when we talk about external motivation, when the parents, when the teachers, when the other peer group is motivating or encouraging a child to perform something, that is what we mean by external motivation. So we have to see how to motivate the students. Again comes the same issue, we have to motivate them, or we have to help them in setting the realistic goals. To motivate someone is good, but if more than the capacity, if we motivate someone, it will bring frustration, because in that case that child, that person, that individual will not be able to perform that expected level and will have to face frustration. Then providing relevant practices. So it is the duty of the teacher that how he or she manages or facilitate the students to practice that thing, because these days the teacher is not an instructor itself only, rather we call teacher as a manager or a facilitator who makes the things facilitate, who makes the thing easy to the students, that how to acquire the knowledge, from where to acquire the knowledge, and how to assemble that knowledge, and how to be creative, how to develop their original thinking, so that these kind of thinking skills or study skills are developed, and we can be able to fulfill our objectives, that we have to produce the balanced personality. And here in this reference of teaching special children, our target is, our purpose is to make them able so that they will be able to adjust with the normal children, and we have to make them as we have to turn them as a normal child. Then evaluating instructions. After the delivery of the instruction, it becomes important, because after teaching we want to know, we want to evaluate whether the child has acquired the particular skills or competency or not. So teaching and evaluating both goes side by side. So if our evaluating system, evaluating process is wrong, then the teaching is also likely to be failed. So if we teach, our evaluating process should be accurate. Evaluation is important part of teaching, they go side by side. Teacher has to decide which are the methods and material are effective on the basis of individual students' performance. Then when we talk about evaluation, I'll speak in brief that there are two kinds of evaluation: formative evaluation and summative evaluation. In formative evaluation, what we do, the teacher collects the data during instruction and used to make instruction and the decision, how to take decision. And in summative evaluation, it occurs at the end of instruction, when the teacher administers a test to determine whether a pupil has met instructional objective or not. Then there are some principles in evaluation process. First is the monitoring students' understanding. Suppose a teacher is teaching and is not able to observe whether they are understanding or not, then it is useless. Then it is likely to go as a futile act. Then monitoring engaged time, how they are using their time. Then maintaining record of students' progress. A teacher must know and must try to keep the record of their progress, so that the next performance or next progress can be compared, whether the students is progressing or at a required or desired speed or not. Then informing students about their progress time to time. They should be made aware that this is your progress, and using data to make decision. That data, that record can be used how they have progressed. So this way, I hope this evaluation process, this planning, and the importance and need and the objectives of teacher education for special children is clear to you, and I hope it will be beneficial for all the teachers and for all the teacher educators to know and to apply, implement these skills of planning and executing an instructional process and the principles in their lecturing and in their dealing with these special children. Thank you.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for giving us this session. Friends, there is a lot more for you, and there are many more tips on your way as we are back after a short break. So you're requested to be with us. Thank you. Hello friends, welcome back to this session. Friends, as you know that today we are talking on teachers training for special children. We are understanding why it is important and how teachers could be trained so that they could give their best for the betterment of the children with special needs. So friends, for the discussion on the topic, we have with us in our studios Dr. Parveen Sharma. Dr. Parveen Sharma is Associate Professor in Hindu College of Education, Sonipat. Let's welcome our guest, our guest today, and let's try to understand more about the topic from Dr. Parveen Sharma. Hello ma'am, welcome to the lecture.
Thank you Geetika ji. Hello friends. In this session, we'll discuss what are the competencies and skills must acquire by the teacher. Keeping in view the welfare, progress and development of special children, it can be said that they need special treatment. And now the question arises, what kind of special treatment? The first debatable question or the debatable issue is whether segregation or inclusion, because these days we just avoid the segregation and we call it a better strategy if we include and if we talk about inclusion of every children, because we are talking about equality on every basis. So if we talk in this issue, then there comes the three options. First is the residential special schools, then home-bound education and hospital-bound education. It all depends on the level of the problem of the child, whether the child should be referred to the residential school, whether home-bound or whether hospital bound. It depends on the problem of the child, how much level of the problem is there. Now we talk about home school collaboration, as this is the concern of the teachers and of the parents as well as. So there should be a coordination between home and school. So how both can collaborate? Time and place should be decided by mutual setting between parents and teachers, where then both of them togetherly make out the educational programs for children. We talk about the parent teacher association. That is not all about it that at the end of the semester or the test, parents reach to the school and the teachers, they just hand over the report card and that just telling them, the parents, that this is the academic achievement of your child, he or she is doing well or he or she is lacking behind. This is not only about PTM. In PTA association, parent teacher association, lot of things can be discussed mutually and shared mutually. Time, they can meet, they can decide the time, they can decide the place, and they can decide various policies and various issues about the children, how they can make it a better educational program. And parents should be free to discuss with teachers about the policies and issues decided by the school. Teachers or the authorities of the school or the principal, they should not mind if they discuss the policies and issues decided by them with the parents, because it's in this way, if they discuss with them, they can suggest something or they can contribute some help to the authorities of the school. Let the parents feel that they are not the time taking advice only, they are collaborators, they are collaborating some thing constructively, and they are not always taking the advice from the teachers that how to deal with their children. If the parents think that some advice is given by the teachers, they should not feel that oh, the teacher will tell me how to deal with my child. So this should not be the thinking of the parents, rather they should feel that we are the collaborators and we can contribute something. If the teacher is guiding me something about the progress of the child, that is all in the favor or welfare or progress and development of the child, then policies must be in written form, how the parents can work, how they can contribute. If some policies are in written, it can be decided. If the policies are in verbal form, it is not suggestible. Teachers should take care of kid if they tell parents about the bad performance of their child. So at the same time, if the children perform something good, their parents again should be informed that your child is doing something good in that area, because all the time if we complain to the parents about the negative aspect of the child, it will be frustrating manner for the parents, because if they come to know from the teachers, from the school authorities that our child is doing something good in that particular area, it will boost up their morale and they will feel happy. Teachers should not feel if the parents are involved, their freedom is just disrupted. Teacher or their freedom or their authority will be minimized. If I am talking about the parents, that they should not feel that they are dictated by the teachers. In the same manner, on the opposite side, on the another side, if the parents are trying to know the policies, then teachers should not feel that their authority is being minimized or being challenged by the parents, because they both of them have to collaborate or contribute in the favor of the welfare of the child. This shows parents and teachers often make inaccurate and negative stereotypes of each other. So if the parents is thinking like this about the teacher, or the teacher is thinking like this about the parents, so it shows that sometime unknowingly or indirectly they form a negative stereotype behavior or attitude about each other. So it should not happen, because if it happens, then it will minimize the progress of the child. So there should be clarity of the attitude between both. Now very specifically, I'll like to speak on the classroom teaching skills. Specifically, when a teacher is teaching in the classroom, what are the skills, what are the competencies a teacher must follow, must implement. Knowing is not enough. When a teacher is trying to implement those skills, that will bring the result. Because if we say, I know this thing, theoretically, if knowledge is there on the part of the teacher, it is not going to solve the problem. It will be helpful when the teacher is implementing these skills in dealing with these children. So I'll discuss some of the skills. First is this stimulus variation. Stimulus variation is just using any idea or any item just to motivate the child, to bring change in attention and behavior by the teacher. Suppose a child is doing something good, or the child is progressing academically, then the teacher, by saying verbally, says only, oh, now you are picking up, keep it up, you are doing very well. It will act like a stimulus variation. So stimulus variation is a skill which a teacher must use. But how to use this stimulus variation, it also depends on the level and age of the child to whom we have to use or give or provide which kind of stimulus variation. A teacher has to decide. Second is the set induction. What do we mean by set induction? It is to involve students in cognitive behavior. Teaching is a rather three-way process. So it is not, these days it is not teacher centered, it is pupil centered. We have to take care of the needs of the children, what they want to be. If we want their cognitive aspect should be improved, should be enhanced, we have to involve the students in the cognitive development. Then the closer. Here students are supposed to recapitulate the previous knowledge and replace it with the new one. Suppose we start a new chapter. Before starting a new chapter, new theory, new idea, or the new content or subject material, we try to relate it with the previous one, and we have to transfer this knowledge in the students also, that how to recapitulate and how to relate the new idea with the previous one so that it can be transferred to the next one. Silence and non-verbal cues. All the time we do not have to say you are doing very well by verbally stimulating them. Sometime being silent or non-verbal cues are also working. Suppose you are teaching and two children are talking to each other and it disrupts your teaching. So instead of naming them, those two children, you just give a pause or non-verbal by eyes only. You do not need to say that please do not talk, rather by just using your fingers or your eyes or your gestures, you can just instruct these children that you are not supposed to talk when I am teaching. So this way we can say we do not speak by our mouth only, our whole of the body speaks. So by using non-verbal cues we can just give the instruction. Then skill of reinforcement. When somebody is performing well, if we just encourage, it is like a reinforcement. They just feel like from within to perform something. So here we have to accept the ideas of the students and not to reject all the time. That is the concept of creativity. When somebody gives his or her ideas, not to reject. You can say no, this can be like this. So one should be ready to accept the ideas of the other person, and we have to teach all our youngsters, our students, our children how to accept the ideas of the others. When we learn how to accept the ideas of the others, it takes us to the path of the adjustment to oneself and the other also. Then fluency in questioning. There are various skills, and one skill is the questioning skill, how to put the question. This questioning skill, how to bring the fluency, meaning by asking more and more questions within a given period. Because suppose in personality test we use a test which is known as case study method. So in this way study method, we want to ask many questions just to have the the knowledge which is lying within, what the ideas or the information we have to gather. So this way asking more and more question within a given time. Then probing question, it is one question from the other question, that is to go into the depth. Then recognition and attention behavior, identifying the interest of the students by seeing only. Sometimes students do not have the potentials or the capacity to say that I like this, I do not like this. So a teacher with his or her intelligence has to identify that these are the interest area of the students to whom I am dealing with. So this way, if the teacher is intelligent enough and takes the interest in finding out the interest of the students by seeing only, it will be a good skill on the part of the teacher. Then skill of explaining, just to increase understanding of the students. We are not just passing the information to the students, we have to increase or we have to enhance the understanding level of the students. So this is a skill of the teacher, how to develop the understanding of the students. Then skill of increasing pupil participation. As just now I spoke to you that these days teaching is not teacher centered, rather it is pupil centered. Now we focus on learning, not on teaching, how much a student has learned, how much a student has acquired, what is his or her perception level. So this way we have to focus on the learning aspect, and we have to involve the students by explaining and just increasing the understanding level of the students. Then skill of increasing pupil participation. As it is pupil centered, we have to focus on the pupil centered, not on the lecturing method only. Rather, we have to adopt the skill of discussion and debate and organizing various activities like role play and dramatization, so that they find the teaching process very interesting and monotony of the classroom is over, and they feel like to participate. So it is the efficiency of the teacher, how much she or he is capable to make the students involved in the participation. Then skill of writing objectives in behavioral terms, not only in the theoretical aspect, meaning by with regard to adequate learning, that this is the objective and we are sure enough that this much will be acquired by the student. That is what we mean by the behavioral objectives. Then skill of classroom management. Sometimes it happens there that the teacher is intelligent, subject matter is there with the teacher, and the method is good, everything is good, but teacher is not able to manage the classroom disruptions very accurately, very intelligently. So a teacher has to know that management skill, because just now I spoke to you that these days teacher is not instructor only, rather teacher is a manager. He is not managing a firm, managing a company, rather managing the classroom activities, how to deal with whom. So creating more and more conducive environment, teacher is responsible how efficiently he or she is able to manage the things. Then skill of using audio visual aids, because we have to remove or eradicate the monotony of the classroom teaching. So for removing this monotony of the classroom, we can use the audio visual aids, audio which we can hear like radio, visual as like chart and flashcards, and audio visual like TV. So this way audio, video and audio visual aids, all the three aids can be helpful in making the students involved, or if we want that they participate. Then skill for pacing lesson. All the students are not of equal standard, there are the individual differences. So we have to see that every student can pace with the lesson. So this way, to follow it, to implement, a teacher has to bring variation in his or her teaching level. Use of higher order questioning skills. Then when we talk about the probing skills, then we have to use higher order skills. That is what we mean, that when we are sure enough that the standard of the students or level of the student is increasing gradually and slowly, then we can use the higher order skills. Then divergent questions. In creativity, we talked that convergent thinking and divergent thinking. Convergent thinking is measured by intelligence test, when a teacher tells that this is the answer and you have to adhere to it and you have to learn it. That is the convergent thinking. But if we want that our children should be creative, they have to follow the divergent thinking, going beyond the ways, going beyond the limits. So it means there is no wrong and right answer, they can create something new. So that is what we mean by thinking creatively. Then lecturing, to develop communication competency. Why it happens that in some of the lectures students get bored, and in some of the lecture they find it interesting. It means the communication skill of a particular teacher is good enough. Teacher knows which are the examples, which are the stimulation and to be given, or where the pause is to be given, which are the stress and rhythm and intonation which a teacher has to apply in the lecture. So these are our communication skills. So if a teacher is having a good communication skill, then monotony of the classroom will be removed and student will be finding it interesting. Then the planned repetition. When we talk about the skill of repetition, it becomes very debatable. There are some some intelligent or gifted students in the class, some are average and some are below average. If a teacher does not repeat, the average or below average student will say teacher is not repeating and just moving fast. But if teacher repeats time and again, the intelligent students will find it boring and monotonous. Why the teacher is repeating the same thing time and again? So it becomes really challenging for the teacher. So here I cannot tell you a very categorical rule in a categorical manner that how much to repeat. A teacher has to see which is my target group and what kind of skill of repetition skill I have used and to what degree. Then competency of communication. Teacher has to learn how to communicate my content which I have to deliver, which is my objective, how it can be understood very well by my target group. After these skills, I hope that you come to know that these are the skills. Now I will talk about the teaching competencies. First competency is class management. A teacher has to follow a particular strategy, particular approach, but after deciding that this should be the approach or this should be the method, teacher has to manage the things efficiently or intelligently, because class management comes on the first number. How to manage everything in group, like grouping, controlling or unwanted interventions. Because for example, we take a project method or project approach, we make the groups that these 4 children will work in this group and the other will in this group. So how do we make grouping? That is also important. It should be efficient one, there should be equality, or they should like each other. Or controlling, how to control the things and how to control the unwanted disruptions. And then the basic skills like reading, writing, speaking and other life skills like healthcare and personal hygiene and moral behavior. All these competences should be adopted by the teacher first, then a teacher has to transfer. It may be any subject. Teacher has to teach them how to read well and how to write well and how to speak well and other life skills, how to make adjustment and the health and hygiene. That competency should be transferred to the students so that they can take care of themselves and they can focus on the cleanliness, then their moral behavior, how to deal with the others and how to deal with the moral aspects. Then referral is important. Enable them how to collect data and how to refer a particular technique for a particular child, because there are the differences of the degrees of the problem. Suppose we are talking about the visual impaired. One child is having 1 degree problem, then the other child may be having the more problem or more level. So it means teacher has to see where to refer this child. Teacher must be having the knowledge of these centers or institutions. Then assessing individual needs. Children should have freedom to select a particular mode of learning as per their needs. This is very difficult to follow, but we have to implement it, we have to apply it, because we have to make them aware that these are the things, these are the ways. Now you decide as per your need what is the approach which is liked by you. Here I will talk about the constructivism which is given by Piaget, that let the child construct his or her knowledge, let the child decide what is good for him or her. Again, that has been a debatable issue to what level that freedom should be given to the child. Then in this continuation, the next competency is the group behavior. Because we are moving in a society, child is not being grown up in a vacuum, the child has to live in the society. So that group behavior, that group dynamics must be learnt by the children. Then how they will learn how to behave in a group, that competency will be transferred to the children by the teacher. It means that teacher who is transferring that knowledge first must implement, first must acquire that capacity how to behave in a group. how to deal with the others. Then the positive attitude. Along with the competency, what is our attitude toward a problem is the most important, because if you have a competency of performing something, but if you are not having a positive attitude, a right attitude, then your competency to do that work is likely to be futile, likely to be a failure. So it means our attitude should be positive, they should be prepared to inculcate a positive attitude toward mainstream. Mainstream means the other children who are normal, because we are talking about inclusion, not the segregation. So when in the same group, mainstream or normal children and special children also, so a positive attitude among all should be inculcated by the teacher. The normal children should be taught that they have to behave in a good manner with the special children, and special children must be taught that not to develop any sort of inferiority complex, no kind of complex in the normal children or the special children. Only in that case the inclusion aspect would be covered, would be possible. Then I am talking about the next competency, that is the acceptance. This is the duty of the teacher to create an atmosphere where everyone can accept each other. First, a teacher has to learn how to accept the ideas of the students, that will help them to produce something creative. And if teacher want to manage a conducive environment in the classroom, teacher has to teach them the both kind of the group, mainstream and the special children, that both have to learn how to behave with each other and how to accept the students who are having the deficiency. On one way they are having deficiency, and on the other side the normal children or the other stakeholders of the society are not accepting them. So this way definitely the sort of frustration will take place in the mind of in the personality of the special children, because on one side they are feeling why they are special, why they are having this deficiency, and on the another side, when any stakeholder, when their peer group or their friends or their teacher or the parents are not accepting them, they will feel disturbed. So we have to remove that disturbance. Now few strategy more with these skills and competencies, that is, if students have reading disability, provide oral instruction. We see that they cannot read, so teacher must understand that we can give them instruction orally. Then immediate feedback. As they are special children, they cannot delay the gratification, so they want immediate feedback. If they do something good, immediately you say you have done well. You can take the help of reward sometime in the form of certificates or some reward or some medal, or by saying verbally. It depends. You have to see to whom you are dealing with, whether to use that medal or certificate or the verbal, or just giving a chocolate or some material thing. Then activities should be concise and short. What the activities which we decide for these special children will be short, because if we take a lengthy task, it will be boring for them. Now in the end, I would like to discuss with you the importance of instructional procedure. As in the beginning, I spoke to you that they are special because they have some deficiency, they are deviant from the other children. So instructional procedure must be special. Teacher comes to know the principles of teaching and how to help the students in solving their problem. It will be beneficial, and it becomes easy for teachers to use teaching skills, because if teacher comes to know that this is the procedure, it will be easy. And it also helps the teachers in providing language training and verbal fluency to the students. It helps the teachers in fulfilling the desired objective. And there are some institutions, National Institution for the Mentally Handicapped at Secunderabad, Thakur Hari Prasad Institute of Research and Rehabilitation of the Mentally Handicapped, Hyderabad, National Institute for the Visually Handicapped, Dehradun, All Yawar Institute for the Hearing Handicapped, Calcutta, National Institute of Rehabilitation Training and Research, Oratur Katak, Rehabilitation Council of India, New Delhi. So these are some institutes and some competencies and skills I spoke to you, and I hope if a teacher tries to use these skills and competencies and tries to implement this instructional procedure, it will be really helpful in fulfilling the objectives. And what is the objective? To include these special children with the mainstream, because we are talking about the inclusion. So I believe this will be helpful for all the listeners and viewers. Thank you.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for giving us this session. Friends, you are requested to write to us at info.cec@nic.in. Here you can post your questions as well as your feedback too. We are going to meet again tomorrow and we would be discussing more. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Geetika ji. Thank you, viewers and listeners.